Norton. That's a new one. I'm not
Norton!
getting that reference. I'm using
From Delirious.
Thank you. Yeah. I was
Red.
thinking Ephraim, the like old school.
No, red leather.
Yes.
Mm.
I saw that on
Leather.
cable the other day. All right, you ready?
Yeah, we're ready. Let's go.
All right. Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of Lemma Champ or Lucky Track Dog League you run, SCCA or NASA, we won't discriminate, as long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussions, tips, tricks, news and notes in the world of amateur endurance racing, whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough and Chrissy gives us just the tip, we're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm mental.
And we are Everyone Racers. Thanks for listening to a McLaren episode of our podcast. It is episode 231 already. Wow. 231 mile per hour was the predicted top speed of the McLaren F1 supercar. As such, it is the number shown on every display in the owner's manual. 231 on the clock, 231 miles on the odometer. Hat tip to Tyler Stank for that bit of trivia. If you're not driving 230 miles an hour, I hope you're not, or 25, check out your E1R bingo card. Get it out because you never know what we're going to talk about. Jeff, what are you doing? What are you up to?
What did I do? Not doing anything now except being on a podcast, but that's what am I working on over the weekend? Absolutely. It was warm here in Jersey. So I got out and I replaced the shocks and struts on the old old Subaru that my wife owns. Let me make sure the commas are in the right place there.
Good plan.
Yes. So it seems that most stock from the factory shocks don't last 160, 170,000 miles.
Neither did yours.
You probably should change it before that.
Yeah. Were they slide whistles?
They were total slide whistles, but they were pretty beat. Interestingly enough, I don't know what the book rate was for that, but it took me at least 3 times as long as it should have. Not because any bolts were bad, but because like the rear shocks were like impossible to remove without like disassembling half of the rear suspension. I find it hard to believe I did it correctly. I don't know I probably should have watched a YouTube video or something. But yeah, there was like a bolt on the bottom of the lower control arm that literally was too long to get out. It like hit the steering knuckle, like the not steering knuckle because it's the back, but hit the hub. And I was like, well, how the hell do they expect? So I just disassembled basically everything to take the shocks out. Whatever. It worked. I don't know. That's what I also had to fix the front door. My front door wasn't working.
Was it electrocuting people again?
No, nothing.
That's a
like
back
that.
door.
Yeah. So
what's the front? Shoot people? Would it stab people?
No.
The front
Just wouldn't
It's Jersey.
close
Come on.
right. Wouldn't latch.
Yeah.
The only
That's
thing
safe.
people here is my neighbors. Yeah, well, and then the wind would blow. It's like the deadbolt wouldn't latch like the regular lock would. This door is like a really weird Pella door. It has 3 deadbolts that all operate off like the same key. Like one is at eye level, one is at knee level, and one is where the doorknob is. Totally weird. I replaced like all the hardware. Pella like warranted it. They sent me everything for free. It was kind of interesting. Shout out to Pella, but I don't know why we need that much security.
New Jersey.
Jersey.
Yeah, or somebody felt threatened there.
I live on a cul-de-sac that nobody with like 9 houses off a highway.
And honestly, and it comes down to that whole thing. Somebody sees all that stuff in your driveway and they go, nope, not robbing that house.
No.
He's got a whole lot of junk.
Whole lot of junk. Oh, Chrissy, what you doing?
Well, we were Cajun. We be Cajun.
You're
Which
Cajun?
is-
You went down to Louisiana?
No, it would have been warmer. But that's okay. I spent the weekend in an airplane hangar in Scranton with these lovely folks that we've got on this call. I went after that. We drove to my parents' house, crashed a Super Bowl party. Didn't really care who played, but they had a lot of good food. So, we'll talk all about our weekend in the show today. So we'll keep moving. Mental, what'd you do?
Oh, raisin.
Cool.
I got the fuel pump installed in the 928 and now it is working. Safety tip. If there has been a delay from the time you install a fluid moving device, say like a fuel pump, and the time you put fluid in that said device, say like fuel, check all your corrections. Got in, got it wired, started the car. Felt like it was just hesitating a little, like maybe it was getting too much air. It wasn't getting enough fuel. Couldn't figure out what, didn't want to rev, didn't want to wind up, turned it off. Oh yeah. Okay. I smell a little bit of gasoline, looked down. All 5 gallons has been pumped out by a fitting I had not tightened.
You know, if you're going to pee something on the garage floor, fuel is like the least fun one to do.
Pretty much.
It is the easiest to clean up, though, I think, aside from water. Like, it's evaporation over time. I mean, sure, it's going to stink and no smoking, kids, but
Yeah.
it will evaporate.
Especially here, but yeah.
My wife has a tremendous aversion to the smell of fuel. Like, she grew up around diesel trucks, so like if there's a truck idling in the yard, she'll come out like.
She hasn't smelled
But,
enough
like,
diff fluid.
If I spill like 1 ounce
Chris's
of
favorite.
actual gasoline for like 3 weeks, I'm like, did you spill gas? Did you spill gas? Did you spill? Did you clean it? I could still smell it. I could still smell it. God forbid any of it gets on my clothes. I might as well live in the yard.
I'm with Chris on the diff fluid thing. Peter Egan wrote an article like 30 years ago about how differential fluid is really the only petroleum product that actually smells like rotting dinosaurs.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I'm
Get it
down
in
with
your
that,
hair.
too. I just don't spill that often. So
Because you don't work on cars much.
diff fluid, differential fluid. How often do you really open a differential?
30,000 miles.
Yeah. And while you're there, Chris, what else you working on?
Caging. We'll talk about that more later. Also worked on a 93 Civic that is ours instead of one that is not ours a little bit. I've got doing some wiring in the Civic. I have the dash totally out and the harness all opened up and splayed out across the front of the car so that I can gradually remove the unnecessary wires that are there. So this is a tedious process. And I haven't been doing it the last few days because I've been getting back into plane stuff because it's time to actually start flying this plane that we've got. And so I've been going through my stuff. I talked to the instructor today, found out he's a little too big because when you have a Cessna 150, you can't have me and a guy who's 6'1", 230 in the plane. We'll have room for about a gallon of gas. So we got to find someone a little smaller than that to go along.
Oh, this is terrible because was it the instructors, one of the owners, and he was going to give you a deal on the instructions?
No, that's somebody else entirely.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
different. Okay.
yeah. But I'm just trying to use one instructors from the local place down there because they have more instructors in planes. And so just need to find someone that's under 200 pounds available on weekends. Then we'll be good. So I'm digging back into remembering how all that stuff works and studying and just going to get ready for that.
Looking at you, Tyler. Get a hold of us.
Yep. He's in Wisconsin. It's a little hard to.
It's a little far away.
Yep. Oh, well, anyway, now amazingly, they've kept quiet this whole time we've started here. I didn't think
it's
this would
very
happen. I thought you'd
bizarre.
definitely hear the voices on the way there, but we are graciously have the presence of both Bill and Vicki Fischer, hosts of the Garage Heroes and Training Podcast, our good friends and our guests, because we spent the weekend with them. Bill, what you working on?
Whatever Vicky tells me to work on. It's very simple.
Okay, good answer. Vicki, what's Bill working on?
Well, we certainly have cleaned everything up for the cage party. So we have been working on that. Bill, you want to go into that a little bit?
Well, we tried to prep so that we didn't we could kind of hit the ground running when you guys walk in, because it's kind of like a swarm of locusts whenever you guys walk through the door. It's like, hi, how you doing? Hugs, let's go. Whew. So
They don't
Yeah.
mess around.
no.
That works.
No. So
Mm-mm.
it's amazing what gets done in such a short amount of time. And then it was proposal season for me, so I've been writing 5 proposals and sleep was minimal. So I went into this a little
Are you
tired.
getting married again?
No,
No.
no. Well, this
It's like a work thing, right?
work thing.
Yeah, he's working on government contracts.
I was going to say, does the
Yeah.
government contracts all have like a season?
Yeah. Well,
Yes, they
there's
do.
4 seasons, and we got the bonus this time, so I had to write 5 contracts in 2 weeks. So that kind of sucked. And
He's
then,
been kind of cranky.
little bit. And
Yes,
then
but it pays for the racing, doesn't it?
it does pay for the racing.
So-
our works to race, right? And then found out we've got some raw materials canceled, so I've got to come up with a new self-extinguishing firewall sealant for some friends of ours who need some, and came up with an answer. and now have everything on order. So we should be in good shape.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Yep. Our garage, for our garage, we have lately what we've been working on there. We have a couple projects going. We've been hosting a vehicle prep from a newly formed team, and their car is going into Champ, Lucky Dog, and AER. So I've been learning quite a bit about going through when you buy a new car, because that's one thing we really haven't been really strong on. What happens when you buy a new car? So we've been going over that. Yeah, I know. Let me see.
By new car, you mean an
It's not a
old
new
car
new
to
car.
turn
It's an
into a
old
race
car.
Yes.
Yes,
New
it's
to
already a
us.
race car. So going from, tip to tail on it, and, doing a complete go over and figuring everything out. And then, yeah, so we also have in our hangar, we have a Honda Fit, which we're turning into the Sunday Cup sprint racing car.
I hate that
which-
fit.
I hate that fit too, but you can talk. Yeah. So we got some stuff going on for the cage party, and Jennifer and Jim are coming in this weekend for artistic and exterior design.
No,
Painting fun too.
Mhm.
I was going to
Super
say that
secret.
is your sister and her husband, right?
Yes.
This is
The other
this is
part of our team.
podcast. We don't know all of these people yet.
Oh yes, my sister Jennifer. She's the other part of our team.
I
They're
mean,
coming
we
in.
know it, but we're
Yes.
trying to make sure our listeners know it. So,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna shout out real quick here. None of you mentioned that you were also releasing an absolutely fantastic podcast with Chris Fix.
Yes.
I don't
that
know
just
when
came
y'all
out.
did that. That just happened and just got that edited. I hope your listenership just skyrockets from that. I'm super jealous. That dude's got like 5 million YouTube followers. So 8 million. God,
Yeah.
God, good for you guys.
Yeah.
Just
He's
because you
got-
had this garage next to him.
Yeah,
He's-
we invited him over and we just did the lemon courtesy thing, much like what you guys did when we showed up for our very first race. It was very unsettling to have everybody jump in and help you, but it was equally as unsettling for him. So he just didn't really know how to react to that.
Especially
But
with
I'm
the
like-
name Fix.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah,
Fix.
right. Yeah. So we kind of helped him out right away, and he was like, "This is awesome. He's definitely coming back." So
Cool.
That's great.
mhm.
Obviously, the same thing. Jaime Garcia, which you guys, of course, know from the Honda FF. In fact, you introduced him to us, and he was stunned at his first Lemons race. That everybody wants to help.
It's
No fun
amazing.
racing alone.
I
It
actually
is
ran
no
into him
fun.
this weekend. He was at NASA Big Willow. Him and his fiance.
Oh, excellent. Well, next time you see him, tell him that he should tune into our podcast to hear all of the news and notes.
Automotive news junkies, come commiserate with us. Former Lemons racer and judge David Torchinsky is leaving Jalopnik along with the Jeep nerd and notoriously terrific person, David Tracy. Their farewell post spoke of new opportunities for their unique storytelling and style. And from their goodbye post, I quote, "There's nothing to be sad about. We're not so much running away from Jalopnik as we are eagerly approaching something new and exciting. We can't wait to tell you more." Well, don't wait on it. Auto news junkies, come celebrate with us. It's called the Autopian. David and Jason have partnered with Bo Bachman. Now, you don't know him, but you actually do. He was a late addition to the West Coast Customs teams in Pimp My Ride when they actually started fixing the cars instead of just putting big stereos in them. He is a show on Discovery that was originally called Driven, and that became Car Kings. His resume is that of a legitimate car enthusiast. He works with the Galopin Auto Performance Center. He's related to the Galopin family of dealerships out here on the West Coast. So the Autopian, and there's a link, of course, in our show notes, is focused on creating an inclusive and interactive automotive community with a focus on growing car culture, and they promise non-invasive ads. So they're hoping for a good user interface with good, weird car stories like they're known for telling. And I look forward. I hope it takes off and does well.
Yeah, definitely gonna have to follow them over.
Hey, remember when
And-
Hertz? You're done. Sorry, you waited too long.
Yeah.
Remember when Hertz Rent-A-Car reported that thousands of cars of theirs had gotten stolen right after they declared bankruptcy. Sounded perfectly legit, right? We talked about it. Everyone knows that it was sketchy. Hey, we know we're all right. CBS News reported on over 230 incidents of theft claims, including several resulted in individuals being arrested, were actually due to Hertz mismanagement and poor employee training. Both Car and Driver and Truth About Cars published articles about how the troubled auto renter's inability to track its own customers and vehicles was combined with an aggressive reporting of incidents to police, which has led to a series of lawsuits. Well done.
Good job. Good
Yep.
job. It's real basic. If you rent cars, remember who you rented them to.
Yep.
Wow.
There's
Boy.
paperwork for that.
Yeah, right. There's a computer system. Like you type a name in and said they're going to take car 1. Good.
Apparently
Jerry
theirs is
Seinfeld.
not. Apparently theirs isn't working.
Apparently.
Numbers are hard.
Jerry Seinfeld said it best. Oh, you're good at taking the reservation. You're not good at holding the reservation. Anyway, hey, you know what happens when a successful American car company builds cars that people actually want and gets people to stand in line for them?
Dealers screwed up.
You're right.
Every time.
Exactly right. The dealerships are trying to kill Ford. And Ford is not helping, let's be honest. Ford is still delivering new Broncos to their top selling dealers, who then they market adjustment them for like thousands of extra dollars and screw the people who've been waiting in line. Well, the problem is they're screwing the people waiting in line even more. So when you get in line for a Bronco and you or whatever car and you make your big deposit, you get it at MSRP. So Jose Rodriguez Jr. at Jalopnik relays the tale that early reservation holders, including some who paid the deposit, are being jumped in line. That's jumped in line. So Ford changed its allocation formula so that 4 out of 10 Broncos go up for grabs instead of going to the people waiting in line. And when they're up for grabs, what happens? People walk in and throw lots and lots of extra money on top of the dealer's prices to get them. So there it is. The Ford has eased the rules about the reservation line. So the original 80% is now down to 60%. So highest bidders are grabbing them up. At this rate of the delivery, some of those early reservation holders could be waiting for years.
Oh, good Lord.
Yes. So I read the article, and it seems like they are giving a lot more Broncos to more urban dealerships, ones that sell more cars and sell more non-Broncos. So if you're like in the sticks and you put your money on a Bronco, good luck. It might not show up forever. There's some serious double talk going on in the article. By the way, it's a Jalopnik article. We'll put it in the show notes. But Ford is also claiming that they're going to punish dealers who sell over MSRP by cutting, quote, future allocations, not the current. They're not going to take Broncos away from them. Some future car is going to get cut. They also claim that buyers who are in line can transfer the order to another dealership, as if some other dealership is going to now agree to sell one of theirs at MSRP. So good luck with that. They also are promising price protections to those that are in line that will last through 2023. Good luck getting it by 23, whatever. This is messy. I weep for people out there who are trying to put in their money for an F-150 Lightning or any of the other cars that are coming up, because Ford will screw you if they can. The dealerships, let me be clear. The dealerships will screw you.
So what do we learn here? Don't stand in line, push people over, step on puppies, and to get your Bronco.
Wait a couple of years.
Yeah.
There
Yep.
you go.
I want my Bronco now.
I don't know. I think
There is already one at a buy here, pay here lot on my way to work.
Wow, really? I'm surprised.
Wow.
Here's what I learned. You can put deposits on things that you think might be hot, like stonks. Because if you actually get your delivery, you could like flip it for tons of money.
Cool. Just don't get one anyway. Or if you get one, let us know. How about that?
Keep it. How about that?
Yeah, nah. Okay. As it turns out, burning corn isn't better than burning gasoline. Lewin Day at The Drive tells us corn-based ethanol fuels are actually doing more harm than good, citing a Reuters article. Initially, one of the benefits of biofuels was using plants making plants makes the source renewable. Another was the idea that the emissions would be offset because of the crops capture carbon out of the air. However, analysis shows that there was a 30% increase in corn prices, an 8% increase in land used for corn production, which caused an increase in other crop prices and contributed to a land price increase alongside the increased fertilizer use and emissions. And as land would have been used for conservation purposes and was converted to farming. The result was a net negative, as per the study, which states, quote, the carbon intensity of corn ethanol produced under the RFS is no less than gasoline and is likely at least 24% higher. This doesn't mention all of the fuel lines and the pumps ethanol has destroyed in older cars. Link in the article. Yeah, sucks. Don't use it.
If only I
Unless
knew,
it's a Corvette, then it's okay.
That's
was
not
just straight-
ethanol.
that-
That's biodiesel, which is awesome.
Oh,
No, we
Okay.
were using straight
Trash.
vegetable oil. in
Yeah.
that.
okay. Never
That's
mind.
why it was a veg.
Right.
Vegetable oil.
if only we knew like a chemist or something who could like read that article and get back to us.
Oh, no problem.
So, hey, Bill, hey, do you go to racingjunk.com?
I think everybody should. I mean, it's the
Everybody,
best place to go looking.
absolutely. Look, in this world of overpriced Broncos and Mavericks that are never going to get delivered, and all of the customers stealing and polluting the earth and everything, I'm glad that racingjunk.com is here because they don't do any of these things. What does Racing Junk do? They give over 950,000 members and 1.2 million monthly visitors to the best deal in racing junk. And boy, do we have some junk to show you today. It's
Enable screen sharing.
It is.
No.
Oh, it didn't? I thought I did it. Hold on a minute.
Sorry, I'm derailing you. I was trying to be
Go ahead. Go ahead. No. I want you
What's
to share
the what's
this.
the racing junk markup on these cars, Jeff?
There's
mean, it's
no
obviously-
markup.
What?
They're selling directly to the customers. Mental, can you screen share now?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. So
I am
this gem of a
on it right now.
1978 Malaise era Dodge Aspen. What is that, an A body? I don't even know what the code is on that thing. Judge Phil would lick this thing. He's so excited. It's an unrestored Survivor. It's got a 318 with a manual, a special edition package on top of a Landau package. Catch this, everybody. Factory frickin' T-tops. Yeah, boy. New clutch, new timing chain, white raised letters BFGs, period correct Kragers. This thing would own Cars and Coffee.
It's
And
a
it is-
manual transmission V8 Aspen. I mean, that's impressive.
That's amazing, right?
Interior's
so
still
blue.
The
It's
blue is
so blue.
amazing. Look at the chrome. Look at the
Very
chrome on those
blue.
bumpers.
Oh my gosh, the engine is blue.
Factory air. Look at it.
Wood inlay on the steering wheel. Don't forget.
Yeah.
This thing would own the Cars and Coffee. Every single old guy would just be amazed by this thing.
One or two could
Yep.
be in the trunk.
We should mention this is in Oswego, Illinois. RacingJunk.com.
Of course it is.
Yeah, of course it is. Fogey Fresh. Link in the show notes. Chrissy, you gonna yell?
Thank you,
I'm
Chris
sorry.
Michael.
Thank you.
Wow.
AER is at Road Atlanta.
Sorry,
this week
Erling.
because everybody's. been
Oh, I'm
going to
sorry. I
Road
started
Atlanta.
before I pulled it in front of my mic.
It's all good. There are 25 cars running Road Atlanta this weekend. Would anyone like to guess how many BMWs?
20.
14.
18.
Jeff has it right. There are 18
Oh.
BMWs, one Miata, one Porsche, or one Miata, two Porsches, one Honda. I think
That's
a couple of Corvettes or something. So
Wow.
Oh, yeah, if something works.
You're so positive. That's so nice.
yes, but anyway, and we still do enjoy AER, but that just I feel like their participants are getting a little lazy.
You know what? It's really great they have part sharing. So anybody have an axle for the front axle? Yeah, I got one. Yeah.
No one's there after 7 o'clock at night. It's like a ghost town. Well,
True.
True.
with 25 cars on Road Atlanta, you're not going to see
That's-
anybody.
No.
Like,
No.
it's just going to be a big, like, like the
That's-
last HPD session of the day. That's pretty
On-
much what it's
on
going to be.
Sunday when a
All
storm's
remaining
coming.
cars.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
remaining cars. Yeah.
Like that's
gonna-
so boring.
The
Mhm.
BMW train comes out of turn 7 and they just line up and go all the
What?
way to 10.
Yeah.
Slightly.
And then the poor Miata out there
Yeah.
by itself.
And then everybody's going to pass them, and then they're going to be just out there by themselves.
These aren't just E36, E46 either. There's like M2 competiciones and everything. All so AER. I don't know.
I'll be
Good
there
luck.
in 3
Well,
weeks.
if they keep doing
Put your-
25 cars at places like Red Atlanta, they're not going to survive very long. I mean, that you cannot make money doing that.
But you
Right.
can only bring one spare BMW to the track as a parts car, and everybody gets to use it.
That's true.
Sure.
In a world of blind people, the one-eyed man is king.
Recent results.
Man, I was going to say it.
Sorry.
Or it was too loud last time. Excuse me. WRL is at what was at NOLA. The NP01 from Stratus Racing took the top spot. One lap over another one from JTR Motorsports Engineering. Lap back was there was the first car to the first car to the line, 609 boring BMW from round 3 Sentinel team in a brand new build. WRL's next race is the first weekend of March at Barber.
So those are radicals, right? The NPO1.
No, it's a factory Mazda powered, looks like a miniature Daytona prototype.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I thought they were radicals. So they're really trouncing the field over there. I'm glad they're running them.
Oh, and they got like 8 of them. So I mean, they start them. To WR's credit, they start them all at the back of the pack and make them work their way through it. And it's impressive because I don't think the cars were designed to do endurance racing, and WRL is probably the only place where they're doing it successfully.
That's cool. Wonder if they're running how much fuel they're running. Anyway, we don't know these things.
We have
Keep
a
going.
WRL's guest coming out on Monday, if you want to know.
Oh.
And we had one. When do you have that guy on? A year ago?
Wow.
2
About a
years
year ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Who's
Anyway.
coming on? Is it Todd?
Mo Dadiga.
Oh, okay. Yeah, don't know. Haven't met that one. So yeah.
He's on
Well.
R3R Racing and the Drive Within TV show on Motor Trend. in Hagerstown.
Oh, not one of the
He's
officials, one of the racers.
Super nice
Racer.
guy.
Oh, outstanding.
Cool. Well, speaking of super nice people, Lucky Dogs, Revenge of the Underdogs, 5th annual Ron Cortez Memorial and other long race names was at Sonoma this weekend. 44 cars are on the lead lap Saturday. Top spot was Groot 2, 17 seconds ahead of the 541R. That's a good one. And less than 8 seconds from there was Finally Racing. Sunday's 8 hour saw the Door Slammers Mustang edge out the Evolution of Speed by a lap and 2 laps over U-Boot Rennewerks. Sunday 7-hour race is also won by Door Slammers Mustang, 2 laps over their teammates and 3 laps over third place Slow Dogs. So Lucky Dogs heads to the south in 2 weeks to the first event in their Southern Cup race at CMP. And is someone we know going to be there?
I will be there.
Excellent. You're running with
Please give
Alex?
Kathy our best.
I will, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Alex and Ryan, his Miata teammate, and Dave will be there with me.
And
Fantastic.
I don't know if Tracy got a seat or not. If she's not running this one, I think she's going to run the fall one.
Cool.
Cool. Go ahead, Trissy. Take a breath.
You both wind up.
Oh, I was gonna say, listen
It's like the
Oh,
big bad
boy.
wolf trying to blow down the house.
That's right.
Except neither of us breathed out. We just
know.
breathed in.
Because we were both being respectful of each other. Look, it was 55 degrees. I already mentioned it. I jumped out there. I started working on the wife's car, and I posted a "What you working on?" and we got a ton of responses.
Yes, Dickie P pointed out that it was 45 degrees in New Hampshire. They were not working on any cars.
Patrick L was making generally poor choices. That's common.
All of the Joneses was relocating a battery to the trunk because, as he put it, I'll be sure to feel the handling difference in a Sentra with 250,000 miles on it.
Mhm. And Sasha was headed out west and not doing any of the shenanigans we deal here in the Northeast.
Adam N was getting into his 200,000 mile Z-Tech that died after Barber.
The Bish was getting my practice laps in for Pitt, and he had a box of Oram's donuts, so he really wasn't
Yeah, that's
the
the donut place.
anything. Yeah,
do you guys
it's a
remember
fantastic donut place.
last time at Pit Race, I went and got that random thing of donuts. Everyone was like, oh, okay, I'll have like half of this one. And then like or the other 3/4 too. And they're just eating all of them because
It was
they're
a
so
great
good.
donut place, and I think was it Bish who told us to get them?
No, it was one of my coworkers who grew up there said, "Oh, you got to go to Orm's Donuts." Okay, so I went into town to the Sheets to get gas right near the donut place and brought donuts back because why not?
Oh, nice.
And Dana M was enjoying the joy of replacing a starter on E1R's favorite tow platform, the GMT 800, which actually isn't too bad, and better than doing it on a Toyota V8. And Gentleman Dave was also working on a tow pig starter.
Kelly Yo was, quote, loaning out car parts to strangers.
Loaning? That never usually goes well.
Yeah, exactly. Don't want it back after it's broken.
Our European fan club president was working. Sorry, Erling.
Greg S working on 2 alphas because they're both going to be broken. That's normal. Right? Ask Lamino.
Who was putting a battery in his father-in-law's car? We, quote, very exciting. And of course, Alex L was installing hangovers, as he calls his bartending.
Jeff.
Is that me? Sorry, I've lost interest in this already. Brandon C was pulling a
it's a little
radiator
long.
and thermos. It's
Lot
very
here.
long. Why do we have so many of these?
If you
Bra-
go through them quickly,
Brandon
we
C
have
was
too
putting,
many
No, it's
listeners.
still too long. Brandon C was putting a radiator and thermostat in a giant Dodge.
David E was on 2 wheels with Greg O prepping for an off-road enduro next month. Good luck.
Florida man's aggravating his neighbors. Yep, that's normal. That's enough.
And Wartburger Thief Aaron was working on a car, which is great.
Greg Smith making Bruce work on Pally. Yep.
I don't know why they're doing that, but anyway, they pulled the motor.
I don't know why.
I don't know.
It ran great.
It
at the
ran
end.
great. The
Right.
motor is. Hey guys, the motor is not the problem. Maybe
He's
it's the
doing-
black flags.
He's doing some
Just saying.
housekeeping, doing housekeeping on the inside.
True.
Uh-huh. Sure.
Sean Dillon was enjoying Scout Weekend with his boy. I totally understand that.
Stinkinator on that MX3 project, and Brandon W was working on the family Camry. There's a question down here.
Bill,
Was
do
there
you- so you typed
anybody
that.
working on a 300ZX?
Bill
See,
is the
300Z?
one that typed it. I think he should ask the question.
I was just curious. I didn't hear in that long list of people working. Why was no one working on the 300ZX race car?
Bill, you should know this.
Hmm?
You must fix the CFO's car
Oh,
before you can work on the race car.
Now, this is actually an excellent transition because we've been talking about the Survive the 25. And Bill, you're the one that kind of cajoled all of these different podcasts into this. And you had Jaime, and I believe Jaime said he stole it from NASA. And we've got the 99 Octane, us, you, him. And please go through these results. This sounds awesome.
So let's start with the good news. We've got 125 pounds to the good guys. So we've lightweighted several $1,000 in carbon composite car parts. Alex is currently leading the way. Probably the one of us who.
Where did he lose 65? Did he chop off
No.
2
No,
legs?
no.
It's
Points, not pounds.
Ah, there it is. Okay.
No. So he was on the Sunday Cup because there wasn't 25 pounds on him to lose. So he gets double points until 12.5 points. So there's this guy who's in second place and struggling with his weight part, but doing the rest of it. Jaime is in third place. He did a race this weekend, so he crept up the leaderboard. I haven't even updated it yet. And then Jeff is in fourth place.
Yeah,
with
I didn't
27
send you an
points.
update. I actually need to send you an update.
Yeah, I need to send an update too.
You do. Well, right now,
All right.
you who needs to send me an update, my beautiful bride who never sees me like every day, you're tied for 5th with Amanda and John from the
Okay.
99 Octane podcast. So
Can I offer anyone some delicious cookies?
Are
I'm
they
good.
Chrissy's mom's cookies?
That's the only kind of cookies I eat.
well,
Okay.
I mean, in order to get Chrissy's mom's cookies, one must say hi to Miss Chrissy's mom.
It's true.
Go ahead. You said it. Say hi, Bill. You can do it out of
Hello,
order. It's okay.
Hello, Chrissy's mom.
Hello,
I-
Chrissy's mom.
And hello to Chrissy's dad. I got some in-person feedback this weekend, and he is also 100% listener with my mother. Hi, hi, Dad.
Hi, Chrissy's dad.
Hello,
Hi, Chrissy's dad. Hi, Chrissy's sister. Hi, Chrissy's niece.
Right,
Hi,
I
Chrissy's
saw that.
brother-in-law. Everybody.
Well, I
When
only
I-
have 2 nephews, but that's okay.
When I
Chrissy's
when I
mom's
posted
cat.
the
No.
They have 2.
when I-
Yes.
when I posted the pictures of my cookies on the Instagram, it was, do you know who never makes anyone feel bad on their birthday? Chrissy's mom.
Nice.
That's true.
Hello to Chrissy's mom's vacuum. Hello
Right.
to Chrissy's mom.
Yeah. KitchenAid mixer. I mean, that's partially
KitchenAid mixer.
responsible for the
There you
cookies, so that's
go.
important.
Oh,
when we're-
it's not partially. It is. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
And
All
a
right.
special shout out to her pantry. That's an
Yes.
amazing pantry. Yes.
Good.
Okay, let's.
Sim racing. What do we do?
The next Lemons iRacing event is this Saturday, February 19th. Saturday. That's confusing. You switch up the days. Everybody's confused. Funduro at Sonoma, followed by a brief banger cross at Phoenix.
And it had been a while in our E1R race on Monday that we decided to get silly. So we did a figure eight with a jump because you can't not laugh doing figure eight with a jump. And I will tell you, the Civic Type R seems very tough when you're on the racetrack and bouncing off tire walls. Not so tough going over a jump, though. So do not recommend next time we do figure eight jump. And really, with this kind of stuff, if you win, you are the only loser. I didn't win, so I won. So that means Ward Burglar Aaron was the loser because he got the most slaps. You're doing it wrong, Aaron. Come on. Second
don't
race was
know.
prep for this week's race at Sonoma, but we switched up and we did Sonoma, but we did Pro 2 trucks versus Legends because it ends up being about the same lap time when the trucks go straight and the Legends don't. And Dave Carpenter won that one in a truck.
No, man, I had way too much 13-year-old science and German homework to make it this week. But
Was ist los mit you, bitte?
no, I have no idea. Don't ask.
Ich bin fertig mit dir.
I learned the word for blueberries, but I don't remember what it was.
Blau, something.
So I missed it, but I
Scheiße.
will make it next week.
That's next time you do it. That's all you need
That's
to
a
say.
different word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
main topic time. I'm left out of this one. Mental, you might be left out a little bit too. We're the only ones that weren't at the Casa de Garage Hero de El Hangaro, because I know my Spanish too.
Mhm. El
caging-
Casa. Yeah.
Let me get this straight. Chris, what are you building? What
A
car are you
93
building right
Civic.
now? Bill, what are you building right now?
I am told that I am allowed to touch infrequently, but I am working on a 1993 Honda Civic.
What?
I have an 84 Honda Civic.
Why? You're whatever. Tell us all about it. How did it go
Ours-
this weekend?
Ours is yellow.
Ours is yellow, yes. Now,
It's
took a
so
whole-
yellow.
It is.
You took a whole bunch of our Honda parts. I thought you were working on an older chassis.
Nope.
It's all the same. The motor's
So-
all the same.
Got
Well,
You guys,
This
you
is
guys
the
got
motor
rid of
we
your
used to have.
Godzilla. So you actually came to us. I think we had this first.
Yeah. So where did you get this car? What's the story? Why are we caging it?
Why are we caging? It's the easy one. They had a lovely door bar, which was if you're sitting in the seat and of my
It's not a
height,
door bar. It's a halo.
halo bar. Sorry, the top of the door entry bar. But if you put a line on my head like a clock, the door bar would hit me. The halo bar would hit me in the helmet at 11 o'clock, and there was -1 inch of space there, so that doesn't quite pass the broomstick test.
So this was you bought a caged race car.
Yeah,
It-
yeah,
I believe it was a sprint car.
it was.
Yeah. It's an ITA car, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, but so there was a lot of like sketchy stuff that was in it anyway. Like the seat was sitting on wood. I
That's composite. It's nature
Okay.
composite.
yeah,
It was
It-
NVH.
yeah, it was pretty sketch. And of course there was a greatly shortened exhaust system on it.
Mhm.
And I think
Which
there
dumps
was
right in front of the fuel tank.
Oh,
exactly.
that's good. That's a good place
Yeah.
to dump it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Good
the
pre-warm up
and
fuel.
of course the cage was sketch, and I know that we just banged out the wood stabilizers that I guess that they used for the roof.
The sunroof filler. They just put some
Yeah.
wood.
Yeah.
Wood.
So yeah, wood that had kind of holes in it. So I mean we took a lot of stuff out of it already, and it was great because last time the guys were up, your team was up, they kind of walked in the door with a whole exhaust system. I was like, woohoo.
So
Mhm.
so wait a minute. So you bought a car, obviously to go racing.
Yes.
Mhm.
It had a terrible cage.
Yes.
So it must have had like a fantastically built motor and suspension, right?
It was actually
Uh,
pretty good. I have to say, no, it wasn't. It
Your
wasn't.
husband
No,
is
it wasn't
disagreeing
good.
with you.
No,
He's
it
shaking
wasn't
his
good.
head.
Yeah.
Suspension's decent. Motor,
Yeah.
we don't know yet.
Yeah.
TBD. We'll find out
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
pit race.
Okay.
It was supposed to be pretty close to done, and then we started looking at it and realized, as with most cars, it's not quite done the way you'd want it. So
Yeah.
I don't
We
know what
got
kind of midget drove
consultation.
it before with that cage. I mean, that was terrible.
Yeah,
Well, it
it
was
was-
kind of like the cage was watered too much and shrank.
Yeah.
So now it's a much better situation.
The
Yeah.
welds on it were beautiful.
They
The
were.
design was terrible. That's the problem.
Oh,
it went
that's
in easier.
interesting. Yeah.
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 So we've been kind of doing some work on it. I was installing an oil cooler on it, which I just did my first mount. I had to really sit and think about it, how I was going to do it, but I did my first mount for the oil cooler. I had to build it, and
Looks
I was
great.
like, that was really cool. That was really cool, actually. So they've been kind of doing some spot work. Alex Levinson's been down working on this BMW that he's been going tip to tail on, and he's been, shooting over and helping me identify some of the areas and stuff I need to work on, and being, the second hand of stuff I need to do also. So that's been really, really great. So we got a lot done. We really did get a lot done on it. It didn't need a ton, but
Just the entire
It-
cage.
Just half.
But-
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, but the nice thing was is that the car was
and the suspension and exhaust and engine.
Suspension's okay.
yeah.
Did we
Ex-
do work on the suspension when we were
We
there?
just took the rear sway bar off, which was like a bridge trestle, which was
Okay,
not
yeah.
going to
Little
make it.
too
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so all right. So, I know you set out the bat signal because you needed caging help.
Yes.
So tell me about the caging. Did you cut the cage? Did we make a custom cage? Did we order a cage? I know the answer, but I'm trying to set you up to the topic of the show.
So we have everything to make a cage. However, we were running out of time and wanted to make this expedient on our first call line of helpers. So we decided, let's break it down into two, because we'll do this again. So this first cage, we decided to get one from that was pre-bent and pre-notched, pre-designed for the car, and ordered before steel prices went crazy. So we ordered that probably a little over a year ago. And last year we were too busy fixing our cars, so this one aged and ripened in the box for a year, and then we finally had some time to get rolling on it.
It wasn't too bad.
Yep. And where'd we get it from, Bill?
Roll cage components in Virginia, I believe.
Yep. Hamza has great things to say about them, and so do a lot of other people.
Yeah, a lot of people say a lot of great things about them.
And
If
that's-
you don't own a bender, this is pretty much like the number one way that people say to get a cage.
Yeah.
Even
And that's-
John Pagel likes them. So
Oh, now that's high praise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted to talk about today is what's it like caging with one of these kits? Because we've talked about it as a good kind of intermediate step, but we've never done it. Well, now we have. So let's get into it. So Chrissy, you want to talk about what the components were in the cage? Like what was in the box? What was sitting on the floor? Because you sat there and stared at it for a while and tried to figure out what all the things
did.
were.
And I made Bill pull up the list, which didn't help. So actually, if can everybody screen share, or somebody wants to pull up this
Everybody
picture?
should screen share.
I pulled up. Well, okay. I put a picture in our notes, and if I can find
Okay,
it.
when you talk, I'll go.
There.
Okay, great. So we got a box of a whole bunch of cut. Some were bent, some were fish mouthed, and we had to figure out. And most had written on them something that we had to decipher to figure out what it possibly could have been and how do we put it together. Bill had a spreadsheet that had some words on it, and some of the words didn't make any sense. But there was still one bar that we had left over, which is the worst. That was the something horizontal loop or something like that. But anyway, basically we had to figure out, we got a box full of parts, figure out what goes where. We have a couple wins, we got a couple losses. Where do you want me to go with this? So now you've seen the box of parts that we got.
Yep. And I guess I'll start off with some of the bits we had. First off, this car, because it was previously caged, had large backing plates already in place. So in order to make the cage fit, to be able to weld at the top, usually we drill a hole and slide a plate under, and after dropping the cage through the hole. Can't do that this time. So Vicki pre-made all the pieces for plinth boxes to fit under the cage. So that's an essential thing to do ahead of time. So Bill, yes.
You can't see me clapping.
For the people playing at home, what might be a plinth box, sir?
It is a box made out
thank
of
you.
metal that you put stuff on top of. So in this case, we made a little box that sits on top of the stock backing plate and goes under the feet of the cage. It's 4 or 5 inches high. And then you remove that to drop the cage down to weld the top part and slide it back in, and then eventually weld everything back up. So
this is a great thing we've talked about in the past for making irregular floors a more regular flat spot where the cage can lie, which we've talked about in the past. But for this, you did it not only for that reason, but also to drop down the top of the cage. And we should remind each other, we drop down the top of the cage because you gotta weld on top of the cage eventually.
All 360 degrees on every single joint. And when the cage is up in position, you cannot access half of it. So the other option is cut a hole in the roof. And this is easier than that.
So Vicki made the plinth boxes.
Yep. And so then the first thing we had to do there when I got there is you have to have a seat mounted in place to know where your harness bar goes, because they don't give you the harness bar on it because your seat might be different. They give you a main hoop, they give you a halo, they give you some bent forward A-pillar bars, some slightly bent door bars, and a bunch of straight pieces with some fish mounts. That's basically and some gussets.
It looks like a lot of straight pieces, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, some of them are slightly bent and you can't really see it because of the way the picture is.
Okay, got it.
But so
Only the door bars were bent. Pillar bars and door bars.
Yep.
There's 4 door bars that were bent.
But,
and of course,
the
there was a very large halo piece that was already bent. That's I don't know if that's included in that picture.
Yep, it's right there.
Okay.
Yep, it's there.
Yep. So we first have to start with the seat. So this car had the stock mounting points all removed in a less than graceful way.
Hey,
so
guys, don't do that.
Yeah.
No, don't
Car
do that.
builders, don't do that.
Leave them there. So we started out by making that by welding some plates to the car, to the trans tunnel end of the sill, and then welding some heavy gauge 1-inch square tubing to that to raise up the front of the seat, and then welding some tabs on that to be able to mount the TJ seat sliders, and then did the similar thing at the back but lower down, so to get this whole thing on an angle, and then welded on some flat stock with supports to the seat braces. This is all stuff we talked about in the seat episode. But anyway, we got the seat mounted, and that was critical to know what to do, because by then we'd had Bill and Chrissy had gotten the cage cut to the right length on the feet, because Vicki had made the plinth boxes. I tacked them together, so we put those in. They'd cut those. Next is the diagonal bar. The diagonal bar already was cut and notched, ready to go. If you weren't using plinth boxes, it would fit. But because our feet were higher up, we had to recut and re-notch. So
I'm going to quickly share a picture of the seat there. Thank you, Garage Heroes Instagram. You can see the giant plates. You can see the TJ sliders. And you can see Chris saying, "Hey, why are you taking my picture?"
Look at that. It looks like it works great.
Yeah. All right. Sorry,
and-
go on.
Yeah,
So
it's good.
The seat actually took the majority of all day Saturday. Just
Oh
kidding.
my
Did a lot of-
gosh.
Well, we did a lot of cleaning too. You
Sure.
were yellow because and I was covered in dust from the grinder. Yes.
Well, between cutting the doors
So much
open-
dust.
Yeah, cutting the doors open and grinding away spots where the base plates previously had not been 360 welded, and now we have to do that, obviously. So that the whole car is yellow. Someone really went crazy. They got it on sale, I think. So we had to clean all that off. But Bill, you got to learn how to notch for all this. Talk about the notching experience. Like, what equipment were we using to notch? How did it get set up? What challenges did you have as your first time doing this?
So-
What are your takeaways?
So we bought a notcher from Eastwood and then a notch kit from Eastwood with the hole saws that we needed. And it took us a little bit to get acclimated to it because it was slightly different than the one that you guys have, which you brought. But we decided since you're not going to be there the whole time, we might as well figure this one out, which we did after a bit. Not the sturdiest design. I would think it was flexing a little bit for us, and less than thrilled with the hole saw from Eastwood, which was surprising.
Yeah,
Not,
it was
not great.
awful.
Yeah, I think we did 4 bars, or in the
We
midst
did
of the
4
fourth.
bar. We did 4 cuts with
Yes.
1 hole saw.
Yeah, and in the midst of the 4th, it decided that it was going on vacation, and it was pretty much a rounded Dixie cup made of metal.
Mhm.
So
That's
think
a bit surprising. Eastwood is usually pretty
That's
good.
why I'm still appalled. Like
Yeah.
I can't believe that it was a brand new set and you got 4 cuts.
and
Ooh,
we
go
did
back to
the
that picture.
oil.
Go back to that picture, please.
I
We
figured
did
we were
the
going to wait
oil
until we
and
talk
everything,
about that.
so it wasn't. It wasn't. I don't think it was operator error in this case, which is surprising for our team.
Yeah, but I don't think so. We've done enough notching that, and we were applying a normal amount of pressure. I don't.
And
ahead.
I know we've moved beyond this. Jeff, would you zoom in on that plinth box by means of explanation, please? It's a beautiful plinth box that
It's
Vicki
covered
made,
in magnets.
Magnets.
but and that's a perfect illustration of what you're looking for right there. Because those for tech inspection, those have to be completely welded all the way around as well. That's
And
And
you
this
can
one, what's
see-
nice about these two is because the plates were already there from the last cage one, Vicky made these smaller because if you're going to make a plinth box, you have to actually put some support under it, because if you don't, you've just created a cookie cutter that is just going to punch through your floor because you've got 1 1/8 inch plates on end on the floor. What's going to happen if those get pressure on them? It's going to chop right through your floor. So this one, because it had nice plates already there, the boxes were a little smaller. That is actually super, super strong.
Yeah, this hoop is actually very well placed in this car. I'm sorry, I know we're not there yet.
worries.
But yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, we'll
I'll
talk
let you
about
go
the
back to
fitment
story.
once
Go
we go
ahead.
to the notching. Yeah.
So I think Chrissy's done majority of the notching with your cages, and she by far knows more about this than I did. But I think we figured out a little bit about how to use the particular instrument that we had. We had a backup plan for the vise, but we were directed not to use it for this time. But
Drill press is so much easier. It's
Yeah.
got the
Yeah,
power.
drill
It holds it all
presses.
together.
And when it's
just
working,
works.
and we know the first time that we used each of the hole saws, it cuts like butter. It takes
does.
5 seconds, like maybe 10 seconds to push all the way through to get a normal fish mouth. But when it becomes just
Dixie
nothing,
cup.
no Dixie cup, right?
Yeah.
No teeth on it. It takes a lot of pressure, we were using, we didn't have any,
A lot of oil.
we were missing cutting oil. We didn't have the right cutting oil, and it, I know.
Chrissy,
I know. I have a
I
whole thing
gave
of
you
tap
the-
magic.
tap
We asked
magic.
we asked Bill if he had some, and he did, and we grabbed the can and went to spray it on, and the can had no propellant left in it. So we're like, oh.
And
So
so
we
then
had
we
to
got
get
a
plan B.
jug, and then we used a cup, and we threw it at it, which is always fun.
Bill.
Wait, we
Bill,
did get like a little oil can. I think
That was
later
after
on.
we had already
can.
used cups and
Oh,
rope.
can.
And the oil can
Uh-oh.
worked great. Yeah, the
Thank
little
you,
pop,
It was
pop,
great.
pop, 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 that worked great.
Yeah.
If-
Bill,
if you, yes, sir.
open up whatever your favorite shopping list is
Mhm.
and add tap magic.
Tap
It
magic,
is the
baby.
greatest cutting oil according to Project Farm.
I
The,
like Project Farm.
the joke is that Jeff gave it to me wrapped, and he was like, "I have a present for you," and I thought it was
wasn't
something.
wrapped.
Oh, it was
I
still in the
came and
package.
I came in and I said, Chrissy, I have a very exciting present for you.
So I actually thought it was something
Like a
exciting, and then
real
I was,
present.
it was tap magic. That's okay.
Tap magic's exciting, though, Chrissy.
Like getting batteries for Christmas. It's like,
And those
Chrissy.
are useful.
How was your weekend without any tap magic?
well, it was great because we were all covered in metal shavings and hot oil because
sure you were
That's not
sitting there
that's not
going-
the point, Jeff. We all need pants, and we all hate getting them for Christmas. So don't start.
This wasn't like
Just because it's
Christmas.
useful doesn't mean it's a good gift.
it's fine. Okay, where were we?
Anyway,
Sorry.
notching. So
yeah.
I just want to really quick go back. Do you think with a better hole saw, for those of you who don't know, that is like the blade, okay? Do you think with a better hole saw blade cup thing, the Eastwood notcher is a good piece? Like, did it just come with a crappy blade, or was the whole thing bad?
It didn't
Because
come
we
with a
use a
blade.
Harbor Freight.
It didn't come with a blade, so we bought the Eastwood
Oh.
pack of blades.
So now you have 6 more to use or
6
something
more
like
that are
that.
going to
Yeah.
fall apart on me, which is
Wow.
fantastic. So I'll use them on wood.
I think I went
Um,
out and I picked up
2 more.
Yeah, yeah.
one from Milwaukee. I think I got
Yeah,
a
the
Milwaukee
one
one.
worked really well.
Mhm.
I think the structure of the Eastwood notcher, this is they have 2. They have one that goes into vise, and then they have the other one. And then when it comes to you, it has this word that I don't like with my tools that I'm going to need precision. It's the first word was economy, and not what I want to see. So the structure wasn't as stiff as I would have liked. So it had a little bit of bend and wiggle to it. So not my favorite at this point.
Well,
but I don't. Really
notching
have-
usually requires someone holding the far end of the bar to
Mhm,
keep it from wiggling too much.
mhm.
So,
Well,
but
this
the
would wiggle with the drill press going down.
right,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
the Eastwood had we have a Harbor Freight, right, or whatever
Yeah.
brand is from Harbor Freight.
yeah.
It's all one piece at the base, right? So you have the bottom that sticks that you bolt into the table,
Mhm.
right? And then you have there is a pivot in the Eastwood one, and we were talking about trying to reconfigure the Eastwood one to make it so that it might have had more wiggle in it than the Harbor Freight one. So I agree with Bill that I don't know that this was the best way. I don't think the structure was the best. I think the Harbor Freight one was better.
For those of you who are looking, this is the Harbor Freight one I'm sharing on the
Correct.
screen right now. So the white part, you can see right down here, the white part, that is the blade. That is what cuts the steel. Everything that is gray here, including the shaft that goes up to the drill press, is the actual notcher.
By the way,
the-
don't ever do what they're showing in that picture and
No,
try to
that's bad.
notch straight through the
No,
middle
that's
of a
bad.
tube.
Oh
Don't
yeah,
do that.
Bill, how many times did you try to do that this weekend?
That's not important right now.
Okay.
But the back structure on the Harbor Freight one, the
Yeah.
back plate is, I think it's a thicker gauge than the one on the Eastwood.
Mhm.
So I think that's where that one doesn't deflect as much. And yes, I got very excited with knowing exactly where to put the hole saw.
He's like, I'm
and
ready. And I was like,
I'm ready.
I ran over to him and I was like, stop it.
Stop it.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, no.
And she
there
runs
was-
in slow motion.
No, I ran quickly because I didn't want him to push. We were already out of 3 hole saws. I was like, we can't afford to do something like this. It's all right. He knew as soon as
And-
we talked about it.
There was one critical adjustment we had to make in this, what actually we had to do in ours too. When you go to do your notch the first time and the throw on the drill press just is not enough to get through what you're trying to do. Where's the adjustment we had to make that work?
So there's on the back on this Eastwood one, there's 2 bolts that you have 3 different positions that then slide. And we were at the longest position. We had to change it to the next longest position because when we first started doing this, we had to actually cut the fish mouth, bird's mouth. I don't know which one's right. Doesn't matter.
Fish.
We had to cut it twice to get through 1.5-inch piece of tubing, which did not help our productivity in the least bit. So there was that.
And this is the piece. It's the piece that the arbor for the
mounts.
the saw blade travels through. So you have to make sure that that is able to take the whole travel. So that was
Mhm.
a good thing we learned.
Mhm.
Okay. So you feel
The
comfortable
angle-
now notching for next time, Bill? Like what
Straight
any
cuts.
tips for a new user next time?
The key is really to know where. We had 2 people involved in this. Well, we had multiple people involved, but we had one person doing the labeling and direction for measure, and then we had Chrissy and I were doing the cutting, and being able to translate the markings, especially when you're using a Sharpie, which is a precision instrument, if I ever knew of one. I think being able to interpret that, you have to be on the same page with that, or else you're just going to cut in the wrong spot. So you just brought up the picture, the blue component in the back that says Eastwood on it, I think is just a little too thin, and it actually gives just a little bit of wiggle when you push down on the drill.
Yeah, I also noticed this one is like a bolted plate.
Mhm.
Well, I
One
think
bolt.
I think ours is kind of like more.
I think the main difference between that one and the Harbor Freight design is there's a secondary 90-degree piece on the back of the Harbor Freight one, which would go right with Bill's theory of giving it more rigid
Mhm.
Yeah.
just not stiff enough. Yeah. So there's the hole saw of note on the upper left of that picture too. So
Yeah.
that one has teeth. It won't for long, but it did it.
Mm-mm. We were like, is this an introductory one?
This
Like
is
that's what it felt
Economy.
like.
Economy.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's bull.
Well, I'm sorry that your tubing notcher didn't work out and that it was an
No,
Eastwood
it
product.
worked. It was fine. It's just that I don't
The blades were bad.
making the
The blades were
blades
bad,
were
yeah.
terrible, but making the comparison between ours and theirs, I think that was just
Like
the
yours.
difference.
Yeah.
Yours
It's
is
work.
better.
It works. It's fine. It's just
And Bill, I'll absolutely agree with you that the communication between the measurer and the notcher is really key to this process because, like, I'm typically the one who's marking and Chrissy is typically the one who's notching, and I know I just kind of like go D line this, do this, and like we've built a lot of cages together. It didn't get there originally, so don't kick yourself in the pants for not.
no. We just needed the additional. Every once in a while, Chris would give us a bar that had 8 lines on it. Maybe 6, a circle here, a line here. This is the top. Oh, wait, let me flip it over. Here's actually the line. And Bill and I walk over to the notcher and go, yeah, not
Because-
confident on this
yeah.
one.
Well, the marks
That's
that I
okay.
think are important to get on there, and then so that everyone knows, are what is the top of the tube to have into the notcher?
Yep.
Where is the deepest part of the fish mouth? Where should that be?
Yep.
And then potentially, if there's a cut line, where should you cut it before you notch it?
Yeah, I think the tricky part we had was when we started. The straight cuts are easy. I don't think there's too much to worry about. It's when you start getting at an angle, and you
Mhm.
want what we were referring to as a shallow here and a deep one here, trying to get the communication right on that because you don't want to waste tube, right? We only
Well, that's with any fabrication. If one person's marking and one person's cutting, either it needs to have 8, 9 marks on there to make it abundantly clear because you can't glue it back on, or you've just established a routine of communication.
I think the better way we could have done it and should have after the fact is take measurements of angles before we put stuff on and just use that on the angles on the notcher. But
we had the we had the tube.
We did
gauge,
not. We just
but we
said
didn't use it.
some. We're like, we
Yeah.
put it in the blade or we put it in the blade and we're like, yeah, that angle looks pretty good. What was it on the?
because I'd
on
marked the
chop
top
saw?
and the bottom of where the notch should be, and eventually it worked out.
Yeah.
All right.
Straight up. and
So,
down.
all right. So that's
Yeah, back to the
notching.
kit.
Did a lot. So let's talk about what fit well and what didn't. I guess I was doing a lot of the fitting, so I'll talk about this part. The main hoop fit great. Actually, it really fit nicely. If we were building it custom ourselves, I would have done the top 2, the highest, the most curved part of the main hoop. I would have done them a couple degrees less because the secondary bend down at the window line was a little bit of a gap to the outside of the car, but that let it go straight down from there to the sill of the car. But if you did let it go out a little bit further and then angled it slightly in from there, I think you get even a little bit better of a fitment. But even as it was, we had to do some persuasion of the roof of the car, not the roof, but the what's the structure, the pillar of along by your head where the roof goes.
B pillar.
Well, it's not. It was the head of the B pillar.
Overhead. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
the area between the A and B pillar at the top by the roof, we had to massage that whole thing in. There we had not massaged all of it, which we did have to do for the rest of the halo bar. But other than that, a main hoop really 98% excellent.
And that
It
main
was
hoop
wonderful.
looks excellent.
And it was
And-
perfectly square, which was nice. Jeff?
And let me just ask about the kit here. So the 40, the what do we call the 45,
Diagonal.
the diagonal, and the harness bars. What were they like? What did they look like coming out of the kit? What did you have to do to put them in?
Yeah, the diagonal was ready to go if we hadn't needed to cut the feet off of the main hoop for the plinth boxes.
Okay, so it was notched at the angle for 45s
Yep.
and everything.
Ready to go.
Awesome.
Ready to install. The harness bars were cut and notched at 45 degrees on the insides and then raw on the outsides because didn't know exactly where you were going to put it based on your seat height.
So you had to trim the far side, not but the center was done.
Correct.
That's
which is the
excellent.
far side is the much easier side to do. That's what we always
yeah.
do is we make the angled one and then put it over and
Pick it
figure out
there.
where it is on the straight
Yes.
part of the bar.
Yeah.
So
And
that
it
worked out
looks
great.
like where you put it was actually right on the bend of the halo, which increased the difficulty of your fish mouth.
Yep, it did.
Yeah.
And it was, but that's where it worked because the harness bar has to be 0 to 15 degrees below the openings in the seat. So, so
Awesome.
that all
Thing-
worked fine.
The kit also had the gussets pre-cut for us, so
Mhm.
you could just tack them on. So that was
Yep.
kind of nice.
So anywhere we had a 90 degree, I stuck a gusset for the most part, which is great.
Mhm.
Adds a lot more welding, but a lot more strength. So that's good.
It was also a good
Um,
project for you when you were waiting for us. So
Weld more gussets.
Sure.
Yep. Yeah, it was a lot of welding this weekend between the seat mounts and the cage and everything. We went through we finished up one spool of wild wire, the small spools, and we went through an entire second spool, and then we went into the third one. So when I did the math, it was about 1,000 feet of MIG wire went
That's
into
a
the
lot.
cage this
That's a
weekend.
lot.
And I really like Bill's welder. It's a Miller 211, 230 volt. This thing was phenomenal. It was great. Once
So
I cleaned the
I've got-
nozzle out.
Yeah, I've got a welding question. It fits in nicely here. So
Yeah.
when you're thinking about welding, I was always under the assumption that you were melting the two pieces of metal together. And I think that is where I was having trouble learning my welding. Are you actually melting the wire into the puddle? And then
The
across
wire
two?
was what creates the puddle. But if you're getting good penetration, you're melting a bit of the things you're welding together by having that hot wire.
So it's kind of a composite of the two different sides and the wire.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Welding tip 101.
Mhm.
Yep, there you go. Hold the presses. Alan was there.
Yep.
Yep.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he came Saturday night and was there all day, almost all day Sunday. He had to go to a hockey game with his son in the morning on Saturday, and then he got over as early as he could, late as he could.
For those of you who are listening to the podcast, we're looking at a lot of pictures as we're talking. We should be mentioning that because
Well, and you can see all of these pictures if you follow Garage Heroes in Training, all one word, on the Instagram.
or watch us on YouTube.
Yep.
Both.
Or you saw all the stories that I was posting.
That's right.
was
Chrissy's
posting
story
last night.
machine.
I was a story machine.
So let's keep going with Fitment. We don't usually use halo style cages. We usually use long forward bar style cages, and they're harder
What's the
to
difference,
bend.
sir? Excuse me.
The difference is
question.
a halo style cage is off of the main hoop. It has a bar that is a 3-sided bar that comes out from both sides and wraps around the front by the windshield. And then from there, it has 2 separate bars that go along the A pillar and down to the floor. Where the style we usually use with the long front bars, it has 1 bar on each side that goes all the way from the main hoop, all the way along by your head, all the way down the A pillar, and all the way down to the floor. And then you make a separate windshield header bar that goes between them.
Bar sounds like it's very hard to make.
It is, but the hard part in my mind about using a halo bar is doing a proper notch for where the A pillar bars come up and meet the halo. That's a tough notch. And
I got a picture of it coming up right here.
you don't have to do that when you do a forward bar. So here's a great look at the Fitment. You can see that halo bar. It was a little long on the back, but that's okay because they don't know exactly how you're going to fit it in. So we had to cut, notch, and get it, and it tucks in right up between where the old sunroof went and where the structure is right behind the windshield. It worked out great. We had to massage the roof pillars to get the bar to fit in, but it fits great. And those A pillar bars, you look, those are nice and tight. They landed in a great spot and they were notched perfectly. I did nothing. Like when the halo bar was in, I went and grabbed one of the A pillar bars on the driver's side. I stuck it up there and I went,
It's glorious.
well, that's perfect. Like I did
Like
I
it
did
hit
nothing.
Hit the floor
Yeah.
perfectly and everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did nothing. I just
Wow.
welded. That's it. So that was great fitment on their part. Wonderful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Bill, if you're watching or if anyone's watching on the YouTube, halo bar goes to the windshield, across the windshield, and back to the main hoop.
Almost like a halo.
Yeah, exactly. It goes from the main hoop to the front corner of the windshield to the other corner of the windshield back to the hoop.
I see the low
long,
oxygen part, but the high altitude's confusing.
yes, exactly.
Yep.
While the long bar goes from the main hoop to the one corner of the windshield, down to the dashboard, down to the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And that
And then you
is
have to add
and then we do another one on the other side, and then we do single bars across the header and across the dashboard.
Those bars were a joy in your Z, by the way.
They are terrible to make, but they make a really good cage. Like I have to say that it really, when you do it right, which we usually are about like 80%. I think we waste two for every.
There's always one that's wrong.
Always one that's wrong, but it doesn't always go to waste. But yeah, that's the difference.
Okay. All right. So all right, we talked about those were all wins. Door bars. I don't know if this was a thing that was lacking in the cage or a thing that was lacking in the ordering of the cage. The door bars were meant to be, I think, NASCAR bars with 3 bars per side with a bunch of pieces in between us. And they gave us all the little pieces in between. But the bend in this was like the slightest bend possible. And I think maybe it was designed to so that's what we ended up doing.
Yeah, that's
Jeff.
what we did. But we
Yeah.
made that.
And
Yeah.
what did we do?
Well, we'll get to that in a second. I just want to talk about what was in the cage first. Is the bars that they gave us bent out ever so slightly, and I think they would have. I know they would have easily fit within the confines of the doors not being gutted. Well, we're not going to do that. We want to actually gut the doors to get a good, safe cage that goes way out away from the driver. So we used the bars they gave us for the sill bars, which had a very slight bend at the very front where they tucked into the A-pillar bar. And they were
Sill
already
bar
notched.
is at the bottom of the door.
Yep. And then for the passenger side, we then use one of their bars that had a slight bend in it as an upper bar. And we put a sill bar and an upper bar with 3 ladder bars. And ladder bars are the vertical elements that go between the horizontal door bars to keep the separation of those bars from separating and to keep anything from coming between them as you get hit in the side. So we decided for the other 2 bars on the driver's side, we're going to bend them ourselves. So we got out. Vicki and Alan went to the other garage and got the bender, which is
Oh my gosh.
amazing.
Oh my gosh.
It is an Eastwood hydraulic bender on casters. You plug it in, it powers up a hydraulic pump, and then you use a lever to do the hydraulics. And it is the coolest thing ever. I bent stuff instead of staying there by myself. I'm like, well, I will bend this. It's bent.
What were you got? What are the other options? Because I don't know anything about
yeah.
these.
We have
It just
That's-
showed up.
That's
So
not it.
we have the same mechanism, but it's manual. So it requires a whole lot of force. So it sits on a little stand, and because you're applying a whole lot of force to it, you have to have it very securely attached to something. Some people bolt it to the floor in the concrete.
Jeff is
we
finding a
don't-
picture.
We don't have that
I am.
option. So we attach it by a long piece of 2-inch square steel to the trailer hitch of any kind of truck that's around. And then there's a 4-foot long lever arm that one of us will pull on to actuate the bend. And
Imagine, if you will, an old swords and sandals show with the slaves in the bottom of the galleon.
You're
Yes.
not
Uh-huh.
wrong.
No, I love
Totally.
this. This is
Bro.
really
Yeah.
that. I mean, I don't love this because I hate it, but yes.
Only one slave per boat, though. So
Correct.
that slave does the entire.
And everybody else
galleon.
cheers them on.
That's right. That's right.
I'm looking for a picture, but it's
So,
gonna be a while. Keep
it
going.
takes forever and it's harder. But it was so easy. It was amazing. So if you have the means, I highly suggest you picking one of these up because it was great.
Thank you
It was
for exploring.
unbelievable.
We're totally borrowing this next time.
It comes with assistance, so don't worry. We'll be there.
Oh,
Excellent.
wow. You pushed the
Fantastic.
lever?
Yeah.
That's
Ta-da.
great.
We need to practice,
Okay.
and
Good.
we owe you.
All right. So what else for fitment? The last thing we did a dash bar. Dash bars are tough on cars that you're keeping a dash. If you have no dash, doesn't matter. Just put a straight bar across, add everything to it. Doesn't matter. If you're keeping a dash because you want, for example, heating and defroster, which, hey, let's be honest, we're endurance racing. Those are really nice to have. there's no good way to do a dash bar. You got to do it like down by your knees, which means you're going to hit your knees on it. That's no good. You got to like gut the dash, which means now you don't have that HVAC you wanted, or you have to make it sit right above the dash. That's what we did in the Mazda. It worked okay. Don't paint it white.
No.
So we did that with I didn't finish talking with the door bars, but I'll finish the dash bar first and we'll go back to the door bars. So we ended up making a bar that goes from the A-pillar bars toward the windshield by about 6 inches on each side and then across all the way to allow the gauge cluster bump to fit. And that was a bitch to notch and wasn't our best work, but it was the end of the day and we got it done. So take your time on that one. So for the door bars, we used the bars they gave us and were able to bend them and get them to fit. They gave us enough extra material that we were able to get a bend in. And what we did is we did a bent X bar. So the sill bars at the bottom, straight across essentially. And then the next bar up is a upside down U that sticks out into the door. This one ended up being about a 1/2 inch from the stock side impact protection in the door. And then the upper bar is a U that they kind of meet in the middle. This one we're pretty close to the middle there. So that was good. And then you put a ladder bar in between so that you've got this force vector. So if you get hit in that center of that node in the door, it is pushing the force out to the A-pillar bar, out to the main hoop and down into the sill bar. And it's not getting to you as a driver. And that's what the important part is. And then there's going to be some gussets that Vicki is making to fill in the tight part of the V on the sides. Vicki's making some taco gussets. They're going to fill in that area and provide a lot of extra strength.
So
This
I
is
have a question about the
yeah.
gussets.
Yeah.
So what is the thinness of the metal that has to be? Because
I usually use like 18 gauge sheet metal, just sheet metal is
Yeah,
all it is
we have that.
because it has so much surface area. It provides so much strength. It doesn't have to be heavy plate. You could make a V-shaped piece of plate and stick it in the middle and weld that. That would work well too. But the taco gussets are a lot lighter and easier to weld.
okay.
Yeah,
All right. So
that worked out great.
You had a bare shell when you got there. Vicki
Mhm.
had already made the plinth boxes.
Mm-hmm.
The bends were mostly done. You just had to do some of the door bars.
Mm-hmm.
So you got this entire kit. Where was everything cleaned, or were you doing a lot of cleaning? You said
It was
you did a lot
pretty
of cleaning.
clean.
The cage when it was already fish mouthed, it was already cleaned. So that was helpful. And we did a lot of cleaning after because the plinth boxes were just made right before we got there. So we did a lot of cleaning of the and we did a lot of manipulation once we were getting it exactly into the place where it needed to be. We were taking off edges because they were, the diagonal wasn't hitting where we needed to exactly when we found the end spot of where we were going to put things.
Yeah. So
we
you
did
did this
some
all
cleaning.
in 2 days, right? Or Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Essentially one day was all the prep of get the plinth boxes made, make the seat mounts, get the main hoop feet cut, get all of the paint away from the base plates that hadn't been 360 welded. We didn't weld anything into the cage until Saturday morning. And by the end of the day, Sunday morning.
Sunday morning.
And today, Sunday,
You
the
were
cage was done.
Doing door bars and finishing mostly the door bars on Sunday. That's
No,
fast.
No, we
No.
finished the whole
It
thing.
was one
thing.
day cage.
Wow.
one day.
I thought you said Vicki was still doing some things.
Oh,
Just gussets,
just,
though.
Oh no, just
just
Yeah.
a one door gusset. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Taco gussets is the only thing.
Yep.
And it's not required.
Alan made the backstays. We didn't talk about those. They came notched on one end and raw on the other end to fit wherever you're going to fit them. We made a little, actually Vicki and Alan made the plates ahead of time, a little pocket right in front of the strut tower that worked out perfectly. It's going to be super strong. We're going to do that in our car. So
But
those were easy. And there was enough room to put the backstays all the way at the very top of the hoop and still have room to weld them just because of the way the car is and the angles. Worked out nicely.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, tell us we have a bender. Would we order a cage or would we still bend?
We're still going to bend because the cost of this was not insignificant. when you have a bender, but
Hmm.
way less than going and getting. If you had to go get a cage, like
Built.
drop this place off, do
Yeah.
what we did last weekend, you're out the door for $3,500, $4,000 probably for everything
Yep.
we did.
Yep.
Also, it was done because we had a lot of people and a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
Nobody could just pick this up. I mean, we knew exactly what needed to be done. We were able to. Everybody had a job. We did have. We have to talk about 10-minute tidies. If somebody didn't have a job, it was Vicki doing what we call a 10-minute tidy. So when we lose things in the garage, that means everybody has to stop and do some cleanup so we can find the things, including her glasses.
Worked out
But anyway, it did work out great. So anyway, we all had jobs. If it was anywhere down to cleaning pieces of metal or measuring things, or sometimes it was doing another job on the car. But for the most part, it was minimal waiting around with anybody, including an extra person.
This is great. I'm very impressed. I will say to the Garage Heroes. So what are you going to do for your next cage?
Well,
Order components or bend from scratch?
Well, the theory was when we ordered the components was that we've never done this before.
Mhm.
So we wanted to see how it all was set up because we weren't sure exactly what kind of cage party we were going to have or what was going to take place. We weren't sure if we were going to have to do some of this with a welder and kind of start figuring it out. So we decided that the best way of doing this was not so much trying to figure it out with the bends, but having all the cuts and bends done for us. So we have a roadmap. And then the next one, after it was installed, we would know what we would basically have to do and cut. So it was like a
Well,
cheat sheet.
This
Yeah.
is the sum up of the show. What
Right.
have you
So
decided for the next one?
the
Will
next
you
one
order
we would
components, or are you going to bend?
bend ourselves.
Oh,
That's
Bill
good.
agrees.
Yeah.
That's because you have the materials, or you have
Right.
all the tools. If you
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
have
Right.
the tools and this is the way you did it, well, you need a notcher no matter what, notcher and a welder. But if you don't have a
Yes.
bender, this is a decent way to go. But I think you
Mhm.
just need to make sure you talk to Jim at Roll Cage Components about what you want your door bars to look like, for example. And he'll probably do whatever you want. But like if I were just doing it, we couldn't bend, I'd be disappointed in having this in the car just because the door bars are so close.
But I think that you did have an option. Bill was thinking that you might have been able to push it out into the doors. He just didn't think about that at the time. I don't.
Yeah.
I didn't see the option, but that doesn't mean it wasn't there. And I talked to him several times, and I just didn't.
Well,
I
and
did
in
not communicate with him
2000
well enough.
in 2010, right after I returned from the race with you guys in the Wartburg, we had a Miata, and we did exactly this. We bought a kit from Miata Kit, and it was their spec Miata, and it actually had the NASCAR door bars that maintain the same distance with 3 components inside of it. And we did not have a bender nor the means to bend. We did have a cheap notcher, and it took a week, but we put a pre-bent cage kit in the Miata, and it passed tech.
Yeah, I
It's
think-
a great way if you don't have the tools, you don't have the experience, or in our case, we wanted to minimize the amount of time we took because we knew we were going to have friends come over, and this is much faster than if you start with straight bar stock.
Yeah. Awesome.
Mhm.
I'm excited. Does anyone want to say anything else before we move on? About the
Plasma
cage?
cutter. Yes. We broke out the plasma cutter, which we kind of did. And it was only my second time actually using it. And I'm quite sure we might have created a little bit more of a problem with the plasma cutter than if we just straight cut it. Yeah. So Chrissy was
I mean, you had so much fun. You had so much fun with
I
it.
had
So that
so much fun.
that
I did. I
helps.
learned a lot, but it's not really that helpful if you really have to go and clean it up for welding right after, because it actually creates harder metal bits, and that especially if you're kind of slow, and that metal on the plasma cutter, when it touches the metal, starts to melt a little bit more. So Chrissy was actually on the grinder trying to grind down these metal
The
pools
slag,
that had
yeah.
hardened, and literally, I was telling her she could pitch an umbrella beneath her because there was so much sand coming off the grind. It needs so much work. And after that, we just started cutting again with the cutters. It
The
just
chop saw works so well.
Yeah.
As long as
chop saw
it's,
with a fiber blade cannot
Yeah.
be stopped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really was. It made a difference, and I was so happy. Vicky did a great job on the plinth boxes and all of the other work that she did. So that was awesome. But it was noticeable that,
Mhm.
and also
As-
the straight lines, because the chop saw pretty much makes a straight line unless
Mhm.
you have something that is not tightened well enough. The plasma cutter is not a straight line, and some of them are. So in a lot of these things, it's best if you're welding two surfaces, you want to make sure that they're actually going to meet in a straight line. And
Mhm.
so I think some of those it was also things you learned, and there was nothing that could have been not been undone or fixed. There was
Right.
nothing that was wrong with it. It was just, we learned that, straight cut is a little easier to clean up than a
Yeah.
coloring line.
And the other thing too is that you could tell when I started getting tired because they started getting really bad.
You definitely have
did.
to know when to put down the tools
Yes,
and
but
take a break.
towards the end, I was just like kind of holding them up with a clamp, and I was just cutting them with my, not even putting them on the table, just cutting them right in the air and just zip right off, and it was good. But yeah, I think that's good for a non-welded piece.
Awesome.
maybe a bolted piece would be better.
Well, thank you both for coming. Thank you for hosting my co-hosts at your hangar. I'm super jelly I wasn't able to be there and help out and stuff. But next time, maybe when the Rona's gone and it's later in the summer and I can have some more time off, I'll be there.
Mhm.
And I think we're gonna move on to the next segment, but I don't know what the next segment is. Is it just a tip? Is it hella sweet? What are we
It's
calling this?
you're
Yeah, you
just
do
the
do
tip.
yours.
Oh, do mine? Okay,
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
do mine. I have a just the tip, everybody.
Just
Yay!
the tip. Jeff has it.
That's the tip from Jeff.
Just a tip from Jeff. So you all know I was working in the regular old concrete driveway in front of my house, and I don't have any quick jacks or anything like that I have in some of the more posh establishments that I wrench. So I was using the old Harbor Freight floor jacks and jack stands, real jack stands, not Harbor Freight, nothing that could be broke or was recalled. And I had a car slip off a jack stand this weekend. So I just want to say that I know what I'm doing. I had tires somebody actually commented, said good job for putting the tires under the rails of the car as a safety backup. But as I was bouncing the springs and things to get the top hats of the shocks out of the rear, I bounced the car right off of a jack stand. And you need to be careful, and you need to make sure that your jack stands are secure. And just because they're secure, you need to make sure that they're in a place that isn't going to slip. Now, the car did not fall. I did not get injured because I had it in a place that even if it slipped, it was only going to move to something else. So my just a tip is be very careful when you're back on jack stands. Bounce the car and make sure it's not going to wiggle. And as you move things and as you change the weight distribution of the vehicle, make sure your jack stands are sitting flat. That's my just the tip. There's no reason that you should ever get injured on a jack and a jack stand. Take care of yourself, everybody. It's the simplest thing. You learn it in Auto Shop 101.
When Jeff does a safety tip, you know it's important.
Seriously.
But
Yes.
did you die?
I did
No.
not die. But my wife
Thank
thought I was
goodness.
going to die. Jen was like, "Did that car just move?" And I was like, "No." And then I got under and I looked and I went, "Holy shit." Oh,
wow.
boy. Anyway, if that's all we have, we're going to keep moving along here. Mental, do we know what's on tap for the show next week?
No,
No.
no clue.
Do
We'll
we ever
figure it
know?
out. Sometimes, you know. Well, yeah.
Do you guys ever know week to week what's scheduled for the week after?
Scheduled 6 weeks out.
Of course it is. Of course, right? Of course.
Sorry.
Hmm.
I-
Maybe
we
ours
do-
is too,
That's
and
right.
we just
You're the
don't
secret.
tell
Yeah.
you.
There it is.
We do have one podcast thing. We have our 300th episode coming out soon.
What?
We have a quiz coming out for the hardcore people that we're going to be giving away swag. So stay tuned.
Oh. that's a good-
Oh, we
All
could
right.
ask if you don't listen to Garage Heroes, we could tell you about you could
Sure.
tell people about your podcast.
plug
I'm
your
sorry, I'm trying to
podcast.
get words out.
Our overlapping Venn diagram of listeners is probably 100%, but we have a endurance racing and other forms of racing podcast where we try and do a little bit more instruction and help, trying to focus on either helping people who are doing it get better or helping people get started and growing the size of our pool and more people to play with on track. So that's what we do.
You say you're like the 101 and we're the 201, but you get some fantastic interviews. So if you want to hear about people out there who are doing it, definitely tune into the Garage Heroes podcast because your interview percentage is a lot higher than ours. So good job.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you for downloading us. Thank you for joining us. And we hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We also hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button. Give us the big old thumbs up and talk to us down there in the doodly-doo. We love people who talk to us. So yeah. Give it to this one here, right here. Even if you hated us, smash that thumbs up button and then tell us in the comments why you hated us. And we're talking so long I ran out of music. Isn't that horrible? Oy.
Check your bingo box.
Check your
Jeff
bingo
has
box.
music issues.
It's not music issues.
Is
So
that
just
on the
be
bingo
careful.
card? Is that on the bingo
is.
card?
I don't know.
It's on one of them,
Card
yes.
Anymore. I just have to make sure it doesn't move to something that we don't have the license for. So anyway, drop an idea. If you have any show ideas, drop an idea on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. You can still text mental 484-243-0455. Send them pictures of your junk. Find us on Instagram or Twitter, everyone.racers, YouTube, Facebook, Everyone Racers, Reddit /E1R. Bill, do you have a Reddit?
No, you haven't read it.
Thank you. I don't know why we have a Reddit. I go there anyway. Go to the Reddit. Thanks again, and until next week, keep the bright yellow side up. Unless the whole thing is dipped in bright yellow, then just keep those wheels down.
Longtime listener, 5,000th time caller.